All right. Let's get into that tube. It's been a while since maybe you recall the tube. We have two sides of a tube. What are they? Anode and cathode. Which is positively charged? And the negative? Cathode. Okay, what's on the cathode side? Aha, see, somebody even said the wrong thing. What's on the cathode side? The filaments, what are their names? Large and small. We have two of them. What else is on that cathode side? Focusing cup. What's the focusing cup job?
So you focus the electrons.
Focus the electrons towards what?
Towards
the target. What part of the target? I know the anode.
Focal spot.
Focal spot. The actual focal spot. Actual focal spot. So you're going to get a question about that. You know, where does it go? And we have how many focal spots? One or two? We're rotating anode. Two? Yeah, we have two because we have large and small, right? So the small is going to cover a smaller surface area. The large is going to cover a larger surface area. How many types of anodes are there?
Two anodes.
Two anodes. And the two anodes' names are?
Rotating
Rotating
and stationary.
and stationary. Rotating and stationary. And you need to think that stationary anodes are old-fashioned. We still use stationary anodes in a lot of our equipment. Our dental x-ray equipment, some of our podiatry, our bone densitometry units, they use a stationary anode because they're not using huge bombarding amounts of x-ray production like we do in general x-ray. So in certain areas we still have the stationary anode. Thank you. Okay, now tell me about the filaments. What's going on with these filament thingies? They heat up. What are they made of? Tungsten. We use tungsten. Why do we use tungsten? High melting point. Okay, you're going to see this question. The filament is made of tungsten because it's going to get hot, so we need something that's going to be able to withstand that heat. And the number one thing you need to say is because it has a high melting point. Everything else that you know to be true is actually, that is true, but the test usually wants to hear that high melting point as the answer. But the other ones are actual as well. All right, now, the filaments are going to get hot. What's going to cause those filaments to get hot? Milliamperage. Milliamperage. I'm going to ask somebody who did me a favor. Will you go to my office and right inside the door on the floor is the front of that X-ray console? Did you do that?
Oh, okay.
You can carry it for you. I appreciate that. Okay, milliamperage. Milliamperage is our friend. We can't do anything without it. We have to have milliamperage in order to have X-rays. So, as we're talking about the X-ray tube, we can finish it by adding more things to it. What else should we add to the X-ray tube to finish the design of the tube?
Oh, the
Pyrex glass. We're going to have glass around the tube, a fancy tube. And again, what's the glass made of? Why do we use Pyrex? Why do we use Pyrex? No, not expandable. High heat? Yeah, it withstands a lot of heat. And we have Pyrex cookware. Some of you, your moms, I know you young people don't have any idea what that means. Thank you. That's perfect. Yes, we use Pyrex glass because it can withstand the heat. That's why we use it in our ovens and can bake it for a long period of time. But in X-ray production, that tube's going to get hot at some point, right? All right, it's going to get very hot. So therefore, we need something that's going to be able to protect that. Now we have that glass in there. Why do we have glass? What was the big reason about having glass around it? Because we used to have tubes without glass around it. Franklin sure didn't have glass around his X-ray tube. Why the glass now? We want to keep a vacuum, want to make a vacuum. So we're going to suck out all the air. We're making this a vacuum tube. So all the air is getting sucked out. Why are we doing that? Why do we use a vacuum? I don't mind, just leave it open. Because of electrons. What particular kinds of electrons?
Excited ones.
No, not so much excited ones.
Oh, the free electrons.
We've got free electrons out here, and if I had free electrons all over the place, what would happen the moment we made our exposure? Those electrons would also be wanting to go to the target. Those are not part of what we are selecting to produce X-ray. We're being very selective. I only want so many electrons, and I want them as controlled as much as possible so I can get this X-ray produced. So we've made a vacuum glass that sucks out all the air so we can reduce all those free electrons there when we start making X-rays. All right, now what's around the X-ray glass? What's around the Pyrex glass? Huh? Lead? Not quite yet. Oil. We have oil around here. Why do we have oil? Encasing. Do we want it slippery inside or what? To cool, yeah. We use this as a cooling agent. Remember that tube is going to get hot when we produce X-rays. So that oil is going to help cool. Just like you put oil in your car to help it as a cooling agent as well. We do the same thing with this. So we're going to have oil around the tube. Now the tube with this oil, obviously we just can't have oil on the tube and it's suspended in air. We have to encase it in what? Plastic or metal? Metal. It's going to be in a metal housing, and it's going to be have something else on it on the side. All the way around it, and then we have these two things on the side. I have one on the cathode and I have one on the anode side. What happens when things get very, very hot? What do solid things eventually do, or anything? They expand. You know, if I have this encased in metal with screws and everything, and this gets really hot, what's bound to happen? It could crack and break or leak all that oil, and that can happen. So inside the X-ray tubes, we have something called bellows. And these bellows inside have the ability to move a little bit, so they have a little give in there to allow for the expansion or the cooling, expansion during heating or cooling and relaxing, so that you don't put extra pressure against the metal housing around your X-ray tube. Okay, and on the very bottom portion of the glass, we call a window. Now I don't mean it's a window you can open or anything special. It's all made exactly the same. However, it's kind of indicated in that area. This is where the X-rays are going to pass through. So you have an idea when you look at the tube, if you were looking at the glass part of the tube, you could actually find, here's the window, meaning this is the region where the X-rays are coming out. It's not any less Pyrex or anything different. It's just that the glass has been designed to show you, give you an indication of where the X-ray is going to be exiting the tube. Alrighty, let's talk about, any questions on the tube?
What was the window again?
Okay. Where the X-rays are going to come out. You put your head out the window and you'll see. Alright, we need three things you need for the production of X-ray. Those of you who've been looking at your books, then it says something else. It says like the tube or something like that. Well, yeah. But you're going to be asked, what are you going to need for X-ray production? So what we're doing at the moment is physics with a tube, but also doing X-ray production at the same time, because you can't do both without understanding the whole flow. Alright, so we need three major things in order to make X-rays. The first thing we need is a source of electrons. And where you get our source of electrons from my milliamperage. So when you walk to your X-ray console, you're going to go over and select what milliamperage station. Whether you have 50, 100, this particular demonstrated console has 100 small, 150 small, 150 large, 200 large, 300 large. What I'm selecting here is the amount of milliamperage that I need, because milliamperage is what's going to give us, inevitably, it's going to give us our electrons. All right, the second thing I'm going to need to do is move those electrons or speed those electrons, specifically across from one side of the tube to the other. So I'm going to need something that moves things quickly or slowly, and that would be what? KVP. So we're going to move them with KVP. So we're going to get our electrons, our source of electrons for milliamperage. We're going to speed our electrons, that's with KVP. And then we have to do something else to those electrons in order to get X-ray. We need to stop them. We need to halt them. That's going to happen at the tube. When that happens, the kind of X-ray we get is called Brem's radiation or Bremsstrahlung. Brem's radiation or Bremsstrahlung. You've all seen that word. Most of you can't say it correctly. Say Bremsstrahlung. Bremsstrahlung. You're going to see that on your test. You're absolutely going to see that on your test. What is Brem's radiation? It's another kind of radiation that, I mean, it's not another kind, it's what you've always known, but that's we call it Brem's because that's the actual thing that's happening when X-rays stop at that target. So we talked about the three things we need. So now let's put them in order of how this is going to work. So we select our milliamperage. Why do we select a milliamperage? I said it's because it's our source of electrons, but why one station versus another selector? We have a whole bunch. Can I just go, I'll just use the 400 for this one, or the 200 or 100?
Producing the heat, no?
This is basically going to select our milliamperage, but also it's going to select our filament, if we're going to go to the small or the large filament. So if you're using the lower end selections on your unit, on your X-ray console, so if I use, this one goes down to 100. So if I use 100, I'm using my small filament. And this one actually even tells you. Some X-ray consoles will actually tell you whether it's a small or large, some don't, and you're just going to have to figure the low ends are small. But this one has 100, I said earlier, 150, and then it jumps 150 large. So I have two 150, but I can use 150 milliamps on the small or the large for this console, which is kind of nice to know. So why do I select one and another? We did say, yes, it has to do with heat. The higher the number I select, the more heat I'm going to get, and therefore the more electrons I'm going to get. But why? What's the determining factor of which MA station I choose? The size of the patient, not necessarily the patient, but the area that we're going to X-ray. If I'm using a hand or a foot or an ankle, I should be on the small, and I should be on your lower selectors, okay? If I'm doing a lumbar spine or a chest or a pelvis, I might be on the higher end, or one less even for the chest. You have to look how big your chest, but lateral lumbar spine, you know where I'm going, right? So that's going to help you. So when you're selecting those milliampere stations, we're going to select which filament we're going to, but also how hot this is going to get. It's almost like the thermostat on a heater. The higher number you pick, the more electrons you're going to get. But you can't get electrons unless you have what? For the milliamperage? Heat. So these are going to get hot. So if I picked 50 MA, and I'm going to the small, I'm going to start producing electrons, correct? If I went to 100, would I get more electrons or less? More. So now what's happening to this side of the X-ray tube? What's happening before that even happens? What's happening to the tube as a whole? They're going to ask you this. As you start adding more electrons to that side of the tube, what is happening to the tube? On that side of the tube. I have more charge. What kind of charge?
Negative.
Is that two balance? So right now, what do those electrons want to do? Go over to the anode side. What's likely going to move, the electrons or the anode itself? Okay, because why? What is an electron? It's a negative what? What did you say? Negative charge particle. It's a negative charge particle. It's a particle and it's very, very small, correct? Going back to the atom, which is biggest, the electron or the nucleus? The nucleus is huge, thousands of times bigger than that little electron. So that little electron, because it's a particle, actually can move. So what's more likely to move, obviously? The electron. But what's happening to this tube, as we mentioned earlier, it's now more negatively charged. Negatives and positives do what? Attract. Opposites attract. Remember that? My husband and I are opposites, and for some reason we're attracted. What can I do? It's just the way it goes. All right, so opposites attract.